Good evening, YouTube friends and family. This is Laura coming to you with a short video. And I want to ask you a question. Have you been freed from the chains of your past? And the reason why I ask you this is because sometimes, you know what, in life, people like to remind us of our past. They like to hold our past indiscretions against us. And when this happens, if we have not properly dealt with our past, it can cause us to feel guilt and hurt and shame, and we can become defensive. But my friend, let me tell you this. You don't have to continue to walk around in life and be chained to your past. The Bible tells us that he or she without sin to cast the first stone. And so even that person that's standing before you accusing you of your past, well, guess what? They don't have a squeaky clean past themselves. All of us have done and said things that we wish we could take back. All of us are guilty of sin. All of us have skeletons in our closet. But see, the difference is some people, they like to hold the feet of others to the fire. They like to hold them to a judgment and a standard that they themselves cannot measure up to. You see, some people, they go by the old saying, whenever that you make a mistake, is to charge it to my head and not to my heart. But see, what they like to do, they like to charge your indiscretions to your heart. Because you know what? It's a character flaw in you. You intended for it to happen. And so you see how quickly they gloss over what they've done, but how they adhere to strict rules when it comes to looking at your indiscretions. And so then they charge it to their head, the not so nice things that they've done, because they look at it as that is not the intended outcome. I didn't intend for that to happen. Well, my friend, the Bible tells us that all of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. The Bible also reminds us that all of us, our righteousness is as filthy rags before God. In the Old Testament days, if someone had a disease or committed a sin, for example, if a person had leprosy, if they came out into the general public, they would have to yell, unclean, unclean, to announce that someone unclean was in public, someone that had a disease. If a person was caught in a sinful act of adultery, they would have to wear the scarlet letter on their forehead or attached to their clothing. And so how many of us, if we lived in the Old Testament days, would have to yell in public, unclean, unclean, or would have the scarlet letter stamped on our forehead or attached to our clothing? It makes you think, doesn't it? Well, also, if you look back at the Bible days, the Old Testament and the New Testament, everyone that God used had some sort of a past, some sort of a history, some sort of a problem. But God was able to use them mightily. For example, King David. King David was called a man after God's own heart. But did King David have a squeaky clean past? No, he did not. But God used him anyway. You know, the great thing about God is that he does not have to consult our past to determine our future. And so remind yourself of that God does not have to consult your past to determine your future. He can still have an excellent plan for your life, irregardless of what you've done. He can still have something great planned for your life. And so the next time someone is accusing you or bringing up your past indiscretions, my friend, the first thing that you can do, if you've come to grips with it and you want to be free, is to admit truthfully to what you've done and let them know, you know what, I've come to grips with that. I'm a new person. That's in the past. And that will release all the effect that they're trying to have over you. But you have to come to grips with your past. And when that happens, you'll no longer feel the guilt and the shame. You'll no longer become defensive. Because when you embrace your past, it becomes a part of you, in which it is for each one of us. It's a part of our history. It makes us who we are. But you know what? God did not allow us to go through the things that happened to us in the past for us to try to bury it and hide it and run away from it. No, He wants you to embrace it. Just remember, He allowed you to go through these things so that you can help someone else, so that you can comfort someone else, so that you can be in an advisory for someone else. If you can help somebody else that's going through the same thing, or if you can prevent someone from making the same mistakes in life that you've made, that's the reason why you went through that. And it's okay. You know, we all have skeletons in our closet. We've all done things that we're not proud of. But the only way to be free is to embrace it. To embrace it. And not allow that indiscretion to define who you are. It's a part of you, but it doesn't define who you are. And God, remember that God has a plan of good for your life, not to do you harm. He has a great plan for your future. And you and I, even with all of the things that we've done and the mess and our tendency to mess up and foul up things, you know what? God can still use us anyway. And He doesn't need to look back at your past and go through the Rolodex and rewind the tapes just to see, well, she's got this spot on her record, so I can't use her. No, that's not the God that we serve. That's not the God that we serve. And so I just wanted to encourage you today to come to grips with your past, be at peace with it, embrace it. Do not allow it to define you. Yes, it's a part of who you are. It makes you who you are today, but it does not define you. And it has no effect on what or who you can become in the future. Embrace it, let it go. And if someone decides to hold that against you, tell them, you know what, I'm a new person. Yes, I did it, but I'm a new person. And you know what? Pray for me and allow God to do the rest. And if that person continues to want to hold your past against you, shake the dust off your feet. And my friend, you need to pray for them. And then you keep on with living. So I'm going to end the video at this point. If you enjoy the content of my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. And as always, until we meet again, bye-bye, my friends.